Welcome to Between Three Witches, where we talk about witchcraft in plain sight. Everyday magic lived honestly, and it's hosted by three witches, me, Gail the Witch Next Door, and Anon the Anonymous Witch. Usually we have Vicky the Wheelie Green Witch, but today she cannot be with us. But we are going to have our Witchcraft 101 guest today. We all walk different paths with different levels of experience, but we share a deep respect for the craft as it is actually practiced, and not the dramatised version that people expect. On today's episode, our Witchcraft 101 guest is a practitioner who weaves together Scottish folklore, ancestral wisdom, and contemporary witchcraft. Her work focuses on grounding, healing, and reconnecting people to the land, the seasons, and their own inner magic. With a gentle voice and a deep sense of heritage, she brings a uniquely Scottish perspective to the craft, one filled with history, heart, and a touch of enchantment. It's great to welcome you to the podcast, That Glasgow Witch, also known as Geo. Good to have you on the podcast. How are you? And for those people that don't know you, first of all, how on earth would they not? But who is That Glasgow Witch?
Hi, it's really lovely to have me on your podcast, Gail. I feel as if you were the first person that I met on social media.
Yeah, I'm sure you had like a few thousand followers. And I remember you
Yeah,
doing a live as well. And I
I
was
had
on it.
maybe.
And it's probably the only live you've ever done.
I've never done one again since. Not that it was bad, but there was
No?
I couldn't I couldn't figure it all out, all the stuff on the screen. But yeah, so I'm Gio. I started posting on social media to share some of my practice with my daughter, who was 19 at that point. Some wildness happened. And now I've got, I think, across the three platforms, I think the last count was about 1.3 million people following me across the big three: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. But I'm just a lady who's sharing my practice every day. Not every day. I think I've only posted like 250 videos, but I just really enjoy sharing it. It's a nice thing to do.
I know your account has just blown up. There's not one person on social media that I could mention your name, like within our community that doesn't know you.
Oh,
And then
really?
I say I recently came out at work. I kind of told work when I was on a drunk work trip in Luxembourg. I told my bosses. I thought they'd found my social media, to be honest. And now they all follow me on Instagram, which is great, right? And my colleagues like to have a bit of a jibe, but they also are quite understanding, like it's part of my life, so it's really good. But then they go, oh, that Glasgow Witch keeps coming up on my feed as well. I'm like, well, it's because you follow me. So of all the witches that are now popping up on their social media feeds, it's you.
Your
You're
pals.
everywhere. It
Oh, that's good. That's
is good.
nice.
It is
Um,
good.
it is. It's just been a really weird year. It's been a really strange year, but I've really enjoyed it. My life's completely changed. I wasn't really a big social media user before. I think on my personal social media account, I've got like 100 like I follow 100 people, and it's all aunties and grannies and people that I'm not a big social media person, but I've had to learn, and it's been a process. So it's been nice.
Yeah, but you came right out the blocks with a very unique kind of angle. And I always wanted to ask you, actually, I thought she must work in marketing or do something because it's so good. And I guess it's because you put a lot of thought into it because you're doing it for your family, right? You're doing it for your daughter, or you were. I mean, it's kind of evolved into something completely crazy now, but yeah, some of your ideas are just they're simple but delivered in such a brilliant way.
Oh,
I
thanks.
admire it a lot.
Well,
Whereas I feel like I
like,
just run on and just go, bleh, quick, everybody know this. Blah.
I still do it for my daughter now. So the videos that I make are still for her. And having a daughter when she's a teenager, and she was a teenager then, she's a young woman now, and I was exactly the same with my mum. Like if my mum did something and I thought it was shit, then I'd tell her. So I need to make sure that if it was shit, she'd tell me, and she wouldn't watch it.
Do you know what? That's really accommodating of you because my son he'll be 19 next month. He says that he's never watched my social media. I probably believe him. I do try and tell him like the good stuff that's happening, try and get him like intrigued about it, but he's not keen at all. But he also goes to church, right? So in his eyes, my witchcraft is very woo-woo and all of the rest of it. But I say to him like, I'm really accepting of your beliefs. Why are you not accepting of mine? But yeah, so my plan, I spoke to him about YouTube. I'm like, please help me with YouTube because that's a different world, Geo. If you decide to go on YouTube, it's not
Not
normal
really there.
over there. And he's like, you will never be able to do YouTube. So I thought, right, that is it. I am doing it. It's very slow, but I'm like, I'm only doing it to prove him wrong. Like, but you're being nice to your daughter and going, actually, I'm going to do something that she will find
Yeah, well,
like that she will enjoy. So when you look back on how you started, what is something that you just don't do anymore? You just don't prescribe to, but you did in the beginning.
loads of stuff. I used to cast circles and uncast circles with every single breath. I don't do that at all anymore. Well, occasionally, just depending on where I'm working with energy that's unusual, feel of the place. But I don't do that hardly ever anymore. And that used to be a full calling in of the quarters and all of that. That was in the early 2000s maybe. And I kind of
Yeah.
once I started to understand, like feel what the difference was, and I think I maybe just forgot to do it once. There was a definite difference for me in what it felt like, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna try that again, and it was better. So a lot of the things that I'm doing, I'm trying to connect to the wider energy of the world. And when I cast a circle, I feel as if I'm really drawn in. So bother anymore. I'll try and let it be, really everything else around about me.
But the craft made it super cool, didn't it, to cast a circle and call
Yeah.
in the quarters and, obviously very Wiccan as well. I call in not the quarters, but I do call in the elements. I find it a really nice part of my meditation practice. And because I work with the drum as well, I kind of talk to the north, south, east, west, and just call upon like the spirits or kind of the energy of like the sunrise based on where we're working with. So I love doing that, but I don't do it in like a ritualistic way. It's more about just coming back to myself, like that grounding energy and just being appreciative of the energy because it's not really an ancient practice, is it? It doesn't align anywhere, but it just reminds me about that energy. So I do like it, but yeah, I'm not doing the whole craft thing, stood on a beach. Hail to the... I'd love to though. That'd look quite cool, wouldn't it? Oh. Do you do it,
Yeah,
Anon?
No, well, no. I mean, to be honest with you, I've never cast a circle. I never have. Like I've said in previous podcasts, I've always viewed things that I've read, things that I've researched as a blueprint, as a guide. Very much like what we were talking about earlier. The only access I had as a teenager growing up were books very dedicated to Wicca or Wiccan. And there were many elements within that sounded beautiful, that I felt attracted to. But equally, I knew there was another way. I can't explain it other than I knew there was another way to do this. And what they were explaining to do, about calling in all this, that, and the other, it just didn't sit with me. And for me, I view it more as connecting with my own inner power and connecting with what I work with, and that alignment with the place around me, with the land around me, aligning myself with the spirit of place. That's how I've kind of always done it. And to me, that feels like home.
Yeah, well, she's grown up, I think, in witchcraft. Have you, Geo? I don't think you did you? Did you come into it as a teenager?
yeah, I commenced as a
Yeah.
teenager. Found my way into a metaphysical shop in the town I grew up in when I wasn't trusted to be at home on my own in the summer holidays. And yeah, I'm going to burn the place down. I think my parents were frightened for their insurance bill. Um, and I went into a shop. The shop was called Bell Book and Candle, in the town that I lived in, and there was tons of Wicca stuff on the shelf then. And the thing that made me like stop in my tracks, I was looking at actually I'm a bit blurry, but I had the Wheel of the Year poster on the wall in the shop, and I was looking at it and I just thought it looked beautiful. And the shop owner gave me like full permission to be like, that's a Wiccan thing. Yule is not a Scottish tradition, it's from, Nordic countries. Um, and Mabon isn't
Mm.
a Scottish thing, it's not even a Welsh thing, it's a Welsh god. It's
Don't
not
get
really a
me
holiday.
started on that now.
You
Don't
had
get
to
me
bring
started.
you had to bring it up. Oh, I was going to warn you. I was going
But
to.
but that was my introduction to it at
Mm.
14 years old. It was like they wrote about this, but it's a bit of in Scottish folk culture, we've got huge ceremonial knowledge around the fire festivals. So Samhain, Lunasa, Beltane, and Imbolc, we've got massive information, and we know what we did around those festivals for centuries. But for the solstices and the equinoxes, we didn't have words to describe them. There was no Litha or Mabon or whatever, there wasn't any of this in Scotland. So, but we definitely had a real veneration for those times of the year, because we had all of our stone circles and our cairns that were pointing in the directions at each of those times. So when I was looking at that way back then, I kind of understood that the solstices and the equinoxes were like our big marker points, like a big calendar. And then our fire festivals happened midway between each of those big markers. So I never really got like really strung up on like researching Mabon, or it never came to me to think that I had to. And then Yule never really sat with me either. Like, that wasn't something that, like having a Christmas tree in the house, and people call it a Yule tree because that's obviously where it came from. But that wasn't even. I've only really started doing Yule. It's not really even a practice, but because I do the 13 magical nights and I do it from the solstice. I don't even do it over the period that that ritual originally comes from, but I start on the solstice. So I just was never given. I never had to unlearn that. That was just given to me as oh, and by the way, we don't call it that, and we don't call it this. And that's just a nice interpretation of how to fit all that into one circle across all the different Celtic cultures. But there are, English people who don't know what, back in the day when our ancestors were old, there would be English people who wouldn't have the slightest idea what Yule was. And I was going to say there were people who weren't Welsh who wouldn't know what Mabon was, but probably Welsh people didn't know what that was either.
Yeah.
So,
I love that, Gio. And this is so important, I think, for our community, and especially for people remembering. Like you said, like I've heard you speak before about, that whimsical kind of metaphysical shop that you went into, and you said, I just had this knowing. It was like just this light bulb within your soul just lit, and it was like almost like I'm home. And I love that. But I think it's so important for people to acknowledge that your path is yours, and it's incredibly important to lean into things that feel familiar, that feel safe, but to also explore as well, and to spread your wings and to practice, to try.
No, I think that's a big part of my practice, is leaning into what feels right. And there's lots of things that I practice that are outside Scottish or Celtic culture, but I don't bang on about them. It's just a private practice for me to do on my own. I'm not like, doing unblocker spells on them and online and using, from other cultures. I just don't. But I really like to read about those things, and I like to understand why those things took place and how that's important to those cultures, and then if that sometimes inspires my own practice in other ways. But it's not like, for example, I use a red thread around my drains for feng shui. So that's not part of my culture, but I really think it's really cool, and I use it. And then I also put green thread around the pipe where the water comes into my house, and that was just something that came to me from inspiration from the red thread from the water that's leaving my house, as a blessing and a marker of abundance and health coming into my home in that same flow of water. So I do like to understand why other cultures do other things from a folk practice point of view. And yeah, I'll incorporate, if it feels nice to me, I'll incorporate some of those things into my own practice. But the bedrock of what I do is Scottish folk culture, and that's just never going to change. That's I saw someone making tacos the other week from potato scones, which is, Mexican food and Scottish collab together. So sometimes I quite like those little mashups of culture.
Yeah, what are they called? Are they called scones? Are they? Or they tatties?
It's
I went
scones.
to Scotland. I did the NC 500 a couple of years ago.
Oh, did
Tatty
you?
Scott, yeah, tatties, yeah.
Well, I'm
We
going to
did the
actually
NC
say
500. It's the
it's,
most, honestly.
it is gorgeous. It's a beautiful place to go. I think in the rest of Scotland we call it tatty scones, but my family have always called it totty scones. So it's a totty scone in our house.
Oh.
But it's like a soda like it's like a potato cake, an Irish potato. It's not. It's different.
Yeah, it's different, but it's lovely with haggis, which I love.
It's
I don't
delicious.
like black
Black pudding.
pudding. I don't think it's got any flavour, nothing, but I went to Scotland.
Oh,
Oh, if anybody's never tried haggis, oh, and I come back home and then I have to keep buying it. But obviously I
oh,
get it from a good place. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, actually there's meat in it though, right? And are you vegan?
I'm vegan, so either you get vegan haggis, which is
Oh, okay.
pretty delicious, but it's there's saying that there's meat in it's a pretty hard stretch. There's bits of
Oh, okay.
animal in it, but
Yeah.
it's like
But it is still
Oh,
delicious.
all the
Sorry.
stuff from
Sorry to all the
inside.
vegans.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I used to eat it. I didn't stop eating animals because I don't like the way they tasted. I stopped it for a number of different reasons. So I get, and black pudding is one of those things that I miss the taste of. There's a guy near us, he's basically a vegan butcher. So he makes like, we have a type of sausage in Scotland called a Lorne sausage or square sausage. And he makes that in a vegan style. And
Yeah.
he's been making some black pudding too. But it's not quite
Yeah.
the same, but it'll do.
Yeah. But is vegan part of your spiritual practice as well? Because I mean, you probably haven't spoken about online and maybe people don't necessarily correlate the two, but
Yeah,
vibrationally, some
it
people
is.
lean into that, don't they, as part of like hiring our vibration and not consuming meat. I've never been able to go over that threshold. I'm a big cheese fan. I
Yeah.
think meat I could probably do, but cheese, you'd have to claw it out of my dead, lifeless body.
There's some really good vegan cheeses out there. There's some really good vegan
Is
cheeses.
there really? Is there
Yeah.
really? I
I've
think
been
you.
vegan for 15 years, so the
Well,
first
that's it.
vegan,
You've forgotten. You can't.
yeah.
You've forgotten what real cheese is like. Oh,
Well, I don't know, but the first types of vegan cheese that I tried were just like terrible. Like it was really bad. But I started being vegan because my daughter was in primary school at the time, and she went to school, Scottish Gaelic school. So there was lots of different religions within her classroom. There were loads of kids giving up chocolate for Lent, and she came home and said that she wanted to give up chocolate for Lent. And I explained to her that we weren't Catholic and she didn't have to do that. And she said she wanted to because she was supporting her friends and they were doing it too. So I said, right, that's cool. And she said, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, so I'd been thinking about going vegan for a while. And I thought, oh, I can do it for 40 days. So I did it and it just entirely changed the depth of my practice and the depth of my connection. I just can't. There's 101 other reasons why I've remained vegan, but that definitely is one of them. Part of my practice is making sure that I live in right relation with things. So not taking, so it's like the kind of forager's code. You don't take more than you leave, and that felt like a big, massive turning key in my lock. That was really like a big part of me living in right relation was that I didn't use animals in an exploitative way. I
I
lean
can
it
I
as
can understand that because that was when I had a massive spiritual awakening when I gave up alcohol. And I wasn't an alcoholic, but my brother was dying, and I just couldn't face it. I needed to live life without that substance. The bottle of wine on a Friday night, that culture we all get into. So
yeah,
I gave up for 16 months in the end, and that was when my whole spiritual practice completely lifted off because my
yeah.
body was and my mind was free to let everything in that needed to come to me. And I suppose it's the same with anything that we consume. You're still not going to make me give up cheese though, not a chance. But I can genuinely, I can imagine the benefit of it because
Yeah,
I've seen
huge
it.
benefit.
I've seen it with.
I don't try and twist people's arm up their back to be vegan. It's a very personal thing for me. Do I think everyone should be? Maybe, but it's only because
Oh
I know
no,
but
you're a vegan warrior.
it's because of what I've experienced.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
that would be like, when you gave up drinking alcohol, you should pretend everyone should give that a bash
I
and see what
did.
that feels like,
Yeah,
and
because they're like, oh, I don't drink that much. I said it's not even a little bit. Just even if you have a drink once a week,
Mm.
when you cut it out, it's harder than you think, and
yeah.
it's the change is completely different. But I did have a friend once who used to have like a business card that they would leave at bars and pubs, going, "I'm really sorry, I'm vegan and I couldn't eat here," and I'm like, oh,
No,
because
I
she'd
wouldn't do
only
that.
have because they only had chips on the menu, and
I just eat the chips.
yeah, but
I
she'd
just
leave
eat
a
the
card
chips.
behind going, well, I couldn't eat here because you didn't cater for my veganness.
But listen, that might not be the type of person that I am, but I absolutely ride on the coattails of those people because it's those people that make those big chains change. And
That's
then I
true.
get to eat there afterwards. So,
That is fair. That is fair.
but the thing about alcohol is, I always remember, there's been a big upsurge in people doing things like ayahuasca and, LSD and DMT and all these things to kind of connect yourself to another plane. Alcohol's not any different for me really from that. I think that when you use alcohol or drugs of any kind, from a point of view of trying to get out of your mind,
Mm.
I mean like out a bit, just to take you to another place from it. It's kind of like getting taken on a journey but in handcuffs. Whereas when you get out of your mind through meditation or drumming, I've just experienced my first drum journey. That was
Oh, it's
wild.
amazing.
Oh, I couldn't
Wow.
believe, I can't understand how for 44 years that's the first time that that's come across my path. It's
I
just
Yeah, I did a drum birthing, so I birthed my own drum, which my wife likes to take the piss out of. I'm like, look, I mean, maybe that wouldn't be for you because you're vegan, but it's using that hide and bringing life back into it. But it's not for everybody drumming because if you're not emotionally in the right place, drums really shift energy in you. And
yeah.
I did resist it for quite a long time because I used to go to a lot of circles and communities and I could feel the energy. And because I've been grieving for feels like forever, my stupid brother, I couldn't deal with it. But now I'm in a place where I find it so, and I get to go to Avebury, so I'm around the Stones, and I drum with loads of other
Yeah.
people. Sorry,
But
I know you were mid-sentence, but I got really excited
that's
about because
okay.
I've got two drums
But
now. I love them.
but when you meditate or you go on a drum journey or you do something like or some repetitive movement where that gets you out of your thinking mind,
Mm,
it's like you're going there voluntarily. While people might use things like LSD or DMT or alcohol or whatever to get themselves out of their thinking mind, it's you're there in handcuffs and you're beholden to it until the effects of it wear off. Whereas when
yeah,
you do it, or you're trying to connect or come out of your thinking mind and connect to the bigger picture, um, voluntarily or through some sort of process, it's a much gentler experience in my experience. But the drumming, can I just say that we went to Kilmartin Glen as part of our, so we were in a women's circle, and we went to Kilmartin Glen to go. There's some standing stone. Kilmartin Glen's one of these places where I think in like the 50s they found about 30 or 40 um, stone circles with like carvings in the circles, in the
hmm,
stones. And since
wow,
they've been unearthing it, there's 900 now. So
wow,
it's just the energy in this glen in Scotland is just absolutely stupendous. It's just, any lay-by you stop in, you get out and stand, and there's a standing stone or a massive big sheet of rock with disc and cup marks that's been worn into them, and they're beautiful. But the women's circle, we went to Kilmartin Glen. We stood with the standing stones for a while. We sat and drummed. It wasn't a drum journey, but the woman who was running that for us, she drummed for a while round the stone circle, and then we went to a burial cairn. So burial cairns are these holes that have been dug in the ground. They're shored up with like big, huge bits of stone, and then they're covered. There's a slab on the top, and then they're covered over with loads and loads and loads of rocks. And
hmm,
this burial cairn had been there for a couple of thousand years, 4,000 years. So there was no bones left in it. It's been restored by archaeologists to kind of put it back into a state so that people can visit and have a look at it. There's hundreds and hundreds of cairns around Scotland, but this one in particular you can go inside. The six of us went down inside this cairn. So you're in a chamber of stone. She drummed us for about an hour.
Wow.
And I've never experienced, I do a bit of hedge riding, which is like, I enjoy doing that. But it
so
takes me
there's
a
another
while
one.
to
Mm.
get there. And sometimes it's for 5 minutes, then I'm out again. But this was like a half hour of me just with my eyes shut, just being like watching all of this stuff happening around about me. The messages from it were just absolutely dumbfounding to me, and I feel a little bit grief stricken that I've not been doing it for longer.
Mm.
So yeah, I think I've got a set of bongos over there.
I've got bongos as well.
I
I've
love
got like
that.
a whole I've got a rain stick, I've got all sorts of sound stuff going on. I've got stuff behind me, but I've got two drums now. I've got a deer and a goat.
But
And
the thing that I
I
didn't
love, yeah.
understand about it, when I've listened to drumming tracks like on YouTube or whatever, I'm like, yeah, there's a drum banging. I couldn't get and she kept talking about listening to your drum song, like the singing, the song that comes from your drum. But because of the vibrations happening, it's just this steady drum beat and the vibration coming off the drums. In your ear, it sounds like whoop, it's going on for ages. It's like a singing bowl.
Yeah.
And I was just, it was astounding. I can't think, you know, I really, really enjoyed it. And I've not spoken about that online or anything yet, but
Mhm.
yeah, I just thought that I'm still processing it, I think. That's the thing. It was just
Yeah.
it's a big shift for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've been drumming for a little while, and because I go down to Avebury, Avebury's like 20 minutes from me. I've got that
Well,
the biggest stone circle in the world down there, which is just incredible. Um, but the journeys that we go on as a women that all come together. And in the last podcast, actually, I think it'll air after this, but I spoke about the last one I went to. Oh no, it wasn't actually. I went last weekend. But I found a mouse and it died, and there was all sorts of grief. I didn't share on socials. Oh, it was awful. Anonymous and Vicky knew about it because I rang them and I was just crying for 2 days. But I sat in this circle of women sobbing. And I don't apologize for that anymore. I've
of
reached
course.
a point in my
Yeah.
life where I'm really accepting of all my emotions, even the really ugly, throaty ones. But then drumming with other people, and I feel like the energy of the drum holds you. Not only have you got the energy of the other women, but we're all and they were all really joyous and happy. The sun was out and we were all dancing, but there's me going, the mouse died. I mean, the mouse died, but it was more about my brother. I was scatting his ashes the week after. So it's more about that and, all the symbology associated with it. But yeah, the drumming is every time I go, there's just something different. And now because of that, and because I go to Avebury, I've started to connect to dragon magic, which I never thought I would do. So that's a whole it just our paths and our practices and craft just evolve all of the time. And
Constantly,
I
yeah.
always kind of went, oh no, that's far too modern modern a practice for me to look at, but it's
Yeah.
called me and it got me, and yeah, so that's a whole new rabbit hole I'm going down at the moment as well.
Me
I mean,
too.
anonymous is dragons, unicorns and fairies all day,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I'm in. I'm in.
Unicorn.
I
Listen,
got,
the unicorn is a national animal of Scotland, so I'm with
I
her.
know. Yeah.
oh well, you're not going to like me in the keep or cut then. I forgot about that. I forgot about that because anyway, we'll wait for that little section.
It's all right because I think it follows nicely after what you were describing about your experience with the Kens. Have I pronounced that correctly?
Yep.
Is what role do you think the spirit of place, landscape, and history plays in your craft, and how important is it for you?
It's probably one of the most important things. Spirit of place underpins everything I do. I could easily have been that Scottish witch or that whatever kind of witch, but I am very specifically that Glasgow witch because the spirit of this city that I live in is absolutely running through me, and I tap into that. I tap into her energy all the time. It is I think spirit of place is it, we very similar to you guys when you have your own language in Scottish Gaelic. All of our place names are really tightly associated with the land. So Glasgow, for example, in Gaelic is Glasahu, which means the Green Hollow.
Oh,
So I
wow.
know.
Sounds
So
beautiful, that, doesn't it? It sounds, I mean, no
yeah,
offense to the word Glasgow, but it sounds so beautiful in
Glasgow,
Gaelic.
and it's just Glasgow. But so it's just my daughter will absolutely come through me for pronouncing that wrong and like just by a tiny bit, but um it means the green hollow, and colloquially we call Glasgow our dear green place because we've got so many parks. But actually it's probably gone before that time, where before Glasgow was even a city, that it was this beautiful green place to stay. And if you were to walk through Glasgow city centre today, you wouldn't think that it's a major city. It's
Mm.
but I know that underneath the bricks and the pavements and the sandstone buildings and the marble in our city hall, that at its heart it is a green place because the name Glasgow tells me so. So I know that that I'm constantly connected to the land. I think that it's we are made of it. Like when people talk about going into nature,
Yeah.
I'm always like, well, you are nature. What do you mean? You could be in a concrete box and be in
Mhm.
nature. So, but yeah, and again, one of the areas of my practice that I don't share an awful lot online, I use what I call, they're called scary stains, which just means colourful stones. One represents water, and to me, emotion. One represents the sky, and to me, spirit. And then one represents earth. And to me, that's just the land that we're on. So I use the scary stains quite often in kind of divination, I suppose. So sometimes if there's anything, if I'm feeling a bit out of sorts or I just need a bit of guidance on something, I'll use those stones to try and pinpoint which of them is out of kilter with the others. And often it's the land one that comes up. So when that happens, I'll take this with me and I'll disappear off out into the world. And it's more so that spirit just telling me, get out from in your basement, you little house hobbit, and start being in being in the country a bit more.
That reminds me of the Ceridwen Three Cauldrons, right? It's like a similar story. I mean, it's not chakras, but it's like those energy centers, and you're using it. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what you're saying. It's like an energy center. You're going, right, I'm not grounded. That stone's just told me because it's flipped on its side, so I need to go and put my toes in the ground.
And it's not necessarily that's been written anywhere or anywhere that I can think about referencing that back to, but in Scottish culture, we didn't have four quarters. We had the sea, the earth, the sky, the sea. That was our three. That was a layer of our keeping our compass, I suppose. So the threes are a big part of Celtic culture, and it's no different here. So, and our three is the sky, the land, and the sea. But like in my practice, I know water is emotion. I know the land is the material, and I know the sky is spirit. So that when I use those scary stains, that's how I use them. And although they're used for other things too. So like, for example, if I were to have done that and this spirit stone came out, for example, or the sky stone came out, then I might use that stone in water and then use the water to do some sort of cleansing, healing or something along the lines of that. So you're imbuing the stone with the power of the particular, you're imbuing the water, with the power of the particular stone. Or you could just add all three of them into it and make it like super juice. and use that.
Super juice. Yeah, it's one of those like unlock moments, isn't it? When you work, I mean, I work one-to-one with people and everybody wants guidance and they want to be told, but actually it's unlocking what's true and authentic to you. And you've learned things along the way and you understand what that means for you, but this is part of your personal practice. And Anon and Vicky and I talk about this a lot. Like there's a lot people don't know about my practice online because it's part of my personal practice. And Anon, we know, obviously I stay anonymous, which is best for all of us, really. And Vicky's the same online. She does green witchcraft and she's in a wheelchair and, she comes across, like she says, all softly and nicely. And she's lovely. But she's also a very balanced practitioner. So she doesn't mind working with some of what would be perceived as more challenging energies as well. But that's part of her personal. She doesn't share it. But that doesn't, she's grown up a witch, same as Anon. But yeah,
I feel the same, to be honest, with that when it comes to working with other energies. And, when people speak about baneful magic online quite often, and I'm really aware that I've been sharing my practice for 1 year. And if I was talking to myself 1 year into practice about baneful magic, I just would back off and I wouldn't even do it anymore. So I don't speak about that because it's maybe a bit too, it's like trying, I like to associate witchcraft to cooking quite a lot because everyone eats, right? So they understand how you get that energy into your body. Working with baneful magic, or I don't even like calling it that, it's more like justice magic to me. So I have an effigy of a certain orange guy hanging from a tree near my house, and it's not that I'm doing it because it's for there's a greater purpose. I'm a nice person. I would never walk up to a person in the street and thump them. But
I'd love to see that, by the way. Just make sure you record it if you do. That would definitely go viral.
But if I
was Glasgow Witch loses her shit.
Can you imagine? But if I was being attacked or I was watching someone be attacked, and I was there presently being able to help, then I would physically intervene with that. I'm not just going to stand at the side and be like, I'm going to love and light that person to will them to stop doing it. I'd physically intervene. So when it comes to baneful magic or justice magic, I will do spells to energetically intervene in different aspects, and I don't shy away from talking about it. I just don't. There's so much nuance around it, and
There is.
I can't fit in a 3-minute video.
And social media is great at glamorizing it, right? And like you say, there's nuance and it's much deeper than it's made to be as well. And yeah, I think yeah, it's a real challenge, isn't it? Maneuvering some of that on socials and
It's like this whole hex in the moon stuff. Do you remember that happened a while
yeah,
back?
how dare they?
What
The
on
moon's
earth?
my best friend.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's okay,
Are
carry on.
there any ethical lines, do you think, that you would not absolutely cross within your practice?
I'm sure there are. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I don't, there's not, I don't know if maybe I can just put spin on something to make it have a good, like have a positive thought process in my head, doesn't matter what it is, but I'm sure there are. I mean, I certainly would never begin a working without understanding how to undo the working.
I'm like that.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So I try to start with I try to start with the undoing of it, because even if you mean something to be permanent, it's, that's your mindset now while you're doing that spell work, and in 6 months' time, 10 years' time, that might change. And
We had this conversation with Vicky and she was like, no, well, if you're doing it, you've already decided and then you have to fully commit. She said, so why are you trying to get out of it, basically? I think
Yeah.
me and you, Anna, were both the same, going, oh, we kind of want to like put a get out clause in there just in case.
I always have that. I always have that. Just as what, like how, Gio was explaining. It's like, I always, like, justice work for me isn't always necessarily the last plan of action. It's not always. It's incredibly important for me to listen and understand my emotions, but I always sleep on something. I will always do divination on something
yeah,
because
for sure.
I can say this because I'm Welsh, but I am very, very passionate, and I go from 0 to 60 incredibly quickly. So I know me as a person, I'd be like, right, let's do some justice work. I think it's so important to rest, to ground, to center. And anything I do like that, I would always put a clause in it, because just as you said, Gio, there's so many consequences. There's so many things that you have to think out of the box as well sometimes. Especially if someone is like the main breadwinner of the family. But I will always put something in there to say, right, in 10 years' time, I might not feel the same as what I do now. And perhaps I feel that justice work has now been done.
And I think that's really important. And the thing about not being reactive, I'm not a reactive witch. I don't, I'll sit and mull things over for days and weeks before I decide to do any spell work. And again, a lot of my practice is about being in right relation, and that comes to understanding how, like, what you're putting out there versus what it is that you're trying to change. You need to have them, they need to be both be in balance. You can't like over egg the pudding, I suppose, and for the minor inconveniences of your life. But yeah, so I'm like, I definitely don't, I'm not a reactive person in life anyway, so I will go and think about things before doing anything. I've got to, if someone asks me what I'm having for dinner, I need a good hour and a half before I decide what I'm going to eat.
Oh, so it's not that you're not reactive, you're a procrastinator.
I'm like, should I? Would I? How would you? I'm just really very aware that I'm a spiritual being inside the confines of a human body.
Yeah.
So I don't see all things. I don't see the outcomes of all of the things that could ever possibly happen. And I'm aware of that, and I'm accepting of that. So you need to be teachable and you need to understand that things change. And I always remember, I don't know where I heard this, but I always remember hearing, you should never conjure something you can't banish. And I think that that's just clever. I don't think that that's, not leaning into it. I think that that's, if you're going to conjure something, then you need to be able to banish that thing too.
Yeah.
And
It's such an interesting and difficult topic as well to teach beginners come into the craft. I left somebody a voice note. I think people leave me messages on Instagram and go, "Oh my God, Gaz left me a voice note," but it's just easier. But they were saying, "Look, I'm really fearful that it's going to come back and get me, like, or something's going to come and hit me back." And I was like, "Look, this is my understanding of it. You know, you've got the Wiccan threefold law, and you've also got, you know, religious and Christianity beliefs that we're brought up with. Sometimes that religious ingrained in us to always fear, you know, the fear of God, right? There's consequences to our actions." So I said, that's one train of thought. But actually, as you educate yourself more, and that's the thing I say most, just learn more, then you'll feel more comfortable. But it is about balance.
for
You
sure.
don't have to do justice magic if it doesn't sit right with you. You don't even have to do a bloody spell.
No.
I mean, it's nice. I like it. It's empowering, and yeah, it's a fun part of the craft, but you don't have to. But yeah, the baneful thing can really put people off because it is so glamorized.
I don't know. I think because we're being women and witches. I was just speaking about this the other day. You know, when you think about wise old men with pointy hats, they're all sweet and wizardly. But when you think about
Gandalf. I watched that on the weekend, Lord of the
yeah.
Rings. Don't know
But then
why.
you think about old women with pointy hats, then they come and eat your
Mm.
children. And
And cut off your penises.
yeah. So I think we're kind of given a bit of a bum steer before we even get out the gates, you know, that we're going to be doing bad things, but you need to think about who you are as a person. Like, are you a good person? Are you a bad person? Like, people always say to me, "Are you a good witch or a bad witch?" And I'm like, well, some days I forget it's the full moon. Like, you know, so maybe I'm a bad witch. But I'm not a bad, no one ever has asked me outright, am I a good person or am I a bad person? Because
Mhm.
my actions denote what type of person I am.
Yeah.
And I don't see that being any different within the craft. And someone was physically in danger and I didn't do something to help them, I would think that would be being a bad person.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it comes to that from an energetic point of view, same thing, I suppose. I
Yeah.
just wouldn't but I think what Anon has said about making sure you're not being reactive is good, because if you wouldn't do that in mundane life, um, you know, someone said something and before it's out their mouth, you've had a quick throat punch in there, then you probably that's if you're not going to do that in mundane life, then you don't do that in your magical life either.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, I want to ask Vicky's question because it's a really good one. And she's really sorry she couldn't make it this evening. But what's the smallest or most ordinary moment that you've suddenly thought, this is what witchcraft actually is?
My dad died in 2021, and I've obviously been practicing my whole, well, since I was 14, and practicing all the way through. And I would absolutely have been like, you know, throwing my hat in the ring. Yes, I'm a witch. I practice all the time. You know, I observe all the sabbats and I do the stuff that witches are supposed to do. And I had an ancestor altar that I maybe like put some flowers on when it was my grand's birthday, or you know, occasionally put a bit of incense on there. But like I've got another couple of altars around the house where it's not like a constant working altar. It's maybe just they're there seasonally and I do things with them seasonally. And I started making my dad after when he passed away. I really missed having my cups of coffee with my dad, so I started making cups of coffee for him, really sweet because he had 3 sugars in his coffee, and sat them on my ancestor altar, just as a way of trying to work through the grief of that and not having him. You know, I was like allowing myself that kind of 10-15 minutes in the morning to like be in the grief of it. And there came a point in the constant repetition of that pattern, because I needed it at the time. I really needed to do it to have that crutch of support of, you know, because your dad's died, right? And my husband's parents were both still alive at that time. I can't go and cry to my mum because her husband's just died. My sister's feeling it as badly as I am, and you know you don't want to be a burden on anyone, so you're trying to process the emotion of you now being a fatherless daughter. The person who I would have spoken to about that was my dad.
Mhm.
So I sat at my ancestor altar every day for about a month. You know, just took my coffee in the morning. And I sat down and I said all the things just all the things I was feeling. At some point, that stopped feeling like a crutch, and it started feeling like an expanding moment And then I was leaving tobacco for my grandparents, and I'd have a pipe there for my granddad. And I put a little carved thing that I have up there to represent the ancestors that I never knew. I've put some pictures up of my grandparents, and that then for the last 6 years, that's been my daily practice, being there. And it's been such a massive shift in how I go about my day, because that's my first. And I don't, if there's mornings where it's not happened because, the dog's been sick, or, there's been something going on and I can't get there with a coffee, it's not the end of the world, because I know that that's part of my practice. And it wouldn't look like anything. It's literally, I make a coffee in the morning, I have 2 cups, and I take one and I have a sit down on a chair. And if you were to be observing that from the outside, it just looks like a woman who's made a cup of coffee for someone who's not turned up yet. But they have turned up, and I'm having a full dialogue. And that's been one of the most grounding and affirming parts of my practice. And ancestor veneration and it wasn't part of my practice in such a solidifying way right up until 2021. And my dad kind of opened the door for that, and now I have access to all these ancestors that I didn't really understand were there before for me. Like, I knew, like, you think you know that you've got your ancestors there, but I'm in conversation with them on a daily basis, and I feel my grandparents, and I feel the unknown ancestors. And when I was contemplating filming my videos, I wondered where it was best to do it, and they told me here. So that's where I film my videos every day, because they told me to.
It sounds so nourishing, Gio. It sounds like such a nourishing part of your practice, but part of your identity and your acknowledgement of everybody that came before you. I think that's such a beautiful, like you said, simplistic ritual role that you do. And it's okay if it's not done on some days. Bless you. You have my condolences, but how you explained that was just so nourishing. It sounds a beautiful practice.
Yeah, I'm not an envious person particularly, but I do. There's something about that I wish I could lean into. I've spoken about this before, but I don't communicate with my brother. I can't face it. I'm not ready. What's he been dead? That's when I started social media, about the same time, so just over a year ago. That was literally the reason I started, just to avoid it, right? He was 44. It's not fair. And I literally, probably in the last 6 months, I've got pictures up there, which are amazing. So I'm here with him every day, but I never, actually, never, maybe once or twice I speak to him. And I'm a witch. I know that's possible. It's part of my practice to commune with spirit. I'm just not. And Vicky actually lost her sister years ago, but she was also quite young. And she said she still doesn't communicate with hers either. So it's amazing that you've managed to build it in. I'm just still avoidance. And I know it. I know.
But the thing about that is too, Gail, is that was my dad that died, and that's the order of things.
Yeah.
Your parents are supposed to go before you do, and it's really difficult to think about tragedy. I suppose my dad he died, I could have had another 76 years with my dad and that wouldn't have been enough, but he'd had a full life, and I've got a bit of there's a bit of ease in knowing that that's the cycle. But your brother was 44. So
he did it on purpose. He died on purpose to wind me up. It was like there's 10 months between us. But there's not many people I can say this to, and thankfully not a lot of my family listen to anything I do on social media or my podcast. But I also take a lot of comfort in knowing that he was supposed to go as part of my life lesson, and he evolved way too quickly, which is why he went sooner. And not many people outside of a spiritual path are able to accept that, or they may just go, "Oh, that's how she's coping with it. That's how she." But I know that, and he knew that too. He said, "You can talk to me all you want. I won't answer back," and that's probably part of the resistance in me as well, knowing what he said, because he knew he was going to go, which wasn't even.
And I think the thing is that like, whether you talk to your ancestors or not, or you talk to your beloved dead or not, they're still there.
Yeah.
They're still guiding your path, and they're still giving you the nudges that you need to, you don't have to be in communication with them to know that they're like threading a little net underneath you to keep you held.
And I seen a moth yesterday. and he hated moths. And moths are my sign that he's listening, and I
Nice.
needed a bit of a message because he's always thought moths are going to come in and eat your brains when you sleep. So he was really actually quite scared of them because he was a big baby. But yeah, so I seen a beautiful cinnabar moth yesterday, and it was just at the right time. And that stuff brings me comfort, and it's part of my practice. But yeah, yours is absolutely beautiful, absolutely amazing
I'm
that you
just
do
really
that.
lucky that I found to do it. That was all, I could be
Mm.
here 6 years down the line still being a witch and not having ever done that. And
Yeah.
it's definitely uh, it's definitely solidified my practice. I don't think I'd actually be doing the social media stuff that I do if it wasn't for that, to be
Mm.
honest, because I don't know, there's a bit of it's scary to put yourself out into the world the way that you do when you're on social media, and I feel as if I have got enough like I'm solid enough in my practice
Mm.
that I don't need to wear an armor to
Mm.
protect it, because I know what how I am and what I'm doing, and I'll share it openly
Well,
with people.
I honestly thought that you're just a pipe smoker. I thought, oh my God, there she is, chuffing her pipe.
I mean, I do smoke a pipe. I do smoke a
Do
pipe, but
you?
yeah,
Do
but not
you?
tobacco. I'll maybe
Right.
use I'll maybe use a bit of mugwort, or in fact I was in Denver just recently, and they have an apothecary there, and I got a smoking blend of marshmallow root and valerian and all sorts of things. It's
Oh,
a
does
bit
that it stinks though, doesn't it, Valerian?
honks, man.
It
It's honestly
absolutely reeks.
disgusting.
It does the job. It does the job. I can't, like, if somebody asks me to make them like a sleep pouch, and I'm like, oh, Valerian's so good, but it really smells. I'm so, no matter how much lavender I bung in it, it's not going to get
No.
rid of that stench.
It's like my cat loves valerian.
Right.
She won't touch catnip, but anytime I've got valerian out, she just the way cats go where they get all psycho on you. She was like
Yeah,
that.
well, I'm the worst witch ever because I'm allergic to cats. So fun, fun
I'm the
times.
only person in my house not allergic to cats. Everyone else is, and they just have to deal with it.
Oh,
Can you tell us about a local legend or a witch from your community that fascinates you?
I can. It's more a local legend than a witch. So this is going to connect you and I on because of the Welsh connection here. But in Glasgow, we have a river that runs through the middle of our city. It splits the city in half, and on the south side of the river is where I stay, and then on the north side of the river, we split it into the west end and the east end. So this city, the river that runs through it starts off in Lanarkshire, which is a town much further south, and it runs all the way from there through multiple towns and exits over at the Atlantic on the way out to Ireland. And it's called the Clyde. Now, it gets its name from Clud or Cloa. So, Clud was a river goddess in Wales, and we at a certain point in time had a Welsh speaking tribe in Scotland called the Damnonii tribe, and
Hooray!
they settled in Lanarkshire, and where the three points of this river, well, where the kind of source of this river happens is where three rivers meet, and it was so noisy. It reminded them of the Clud, the river from in Wales. So they named this river for that same goddess because it was it's a noisy thing. It's like she has the ear of the gods. She's like so cleansing. Like the
very Welsh then.
yeah, the volume that comes from her is just such a cleansing noise. So we have this river goddess who we know has been venerated along the length of the Clyde because there's been little objects found over the years that suggest that people from Hamilton or Wishaw and further up right the way through to Glasgow venerated this goddess here. So we have the Clyde goddess that not many people think of when they think of Glasgow. That you think about these goddesses from all around the world, and yet here we have our own goddess in this cleansing, noisy goddess who has the ear of the gods. So when I drive over her, so there's a number of bridges that cross over the Clyde. I offer an offering of turning my volume up as loud as I can in the car when I go past. So She gets my song all the time. So I do love the Clyde goddess. She's venerated yet still after all these thousands and thousands of years.
I love that.
And again,
I
it just
love
goes to
that.
show how connected we were as a Celtic nation, that we, there was
Yeah.
Welsh. We have a, if anyone was to say the word Clyde, you think of it as being a very Scottish thing, but actually it came from Welsh-speaking tribes that were in Scotland at the time. That migration through different countries was a normal thing and is a normal thing. And we've reined ourselves in a bit and butchered ourselves off from the rest of the world, and we definitely shouldn't, because look at the beautiful symbology that travelled with it. So I do actually have another quick thing that because I always forget to speak about these witches that were tried under the Witchcraft Act, but there's a kind of weird connection to Salem with it, and I'm like,
Ooh.
it always really interests me. So where I stay in Glasgow, we have a big park nearby, because I remember we're that dear green place, in Pollock Park, home to Pollock House, and we had a family who lived there called the Maxwells, and one of the Maxwells, his name was George Maxwell. He was a witch hunter, so he, back in the day, owned all this massive land. He had a big estate house, and he had loads of people working for him. And one day he took unwell, and probably what we would know now is he was having a stroke or Bell's palsy or something had gone wrong. But a little mute girl who worked within within Pollock House, told the Maxwells that, because she found her voice this day, because she hadn't spoken before, and she said, "I'm living with a woman, her son, and her daughter, and the three of them, together with another three women, are practicing witchcraft on you, and there's an effigy of you behind the fireplace in their house with pins all down this side, and they are doing this to you." So they went to the house and they found the effigy, and they said, "You big bunch of witches, let's get you to trial." And they tried all, but everyone was put to trial except the youngest daughter, who was saved but got to see the rest of her family hung and burned at Gallows Green in Paisley. The girl who had grassed them all in for doing this left and ended up going to be a minister's wife in Edinburgh, where, when she got to Edinburgh, accused a whole bunch of other people again. It all went to trial and went to court. And when the judge heard that she was accusing again, decided that these people weren't the problem, it was her, and she was stirring the pot. And she was banished to the colonies about 5 years before the witchcraft trials in Salem started.
No.
Yeah. So it doesn't tell you where, it just says she was banished to the colonies. I have a really sneaky suspicion that some little mute girl from Glasgow started Salem witch trial.
Oh, wow.
So that's my own personal thought process. I'm sure there's people out there who are academics on that who are screaming at me right now. But when I've read it and looking at the dates, I think, I bet that was you.
Bet that was you little shit stirrer,
Absolutely.
causing trouble. So now we have our keep or cut section, where I ask our guest 5 things they would keep or cut out of their practice. So, Gio, that Glasgow witch, I'm going to give you 5 things, and you have to pick one. And I know it's going to be painful, but would you keep or cut tattoos or sigils?
Ooh.
Sigils.
I don't even know if that's part of your practice, but I suppose some of our
Sigil.
tattoos are part of our practice. Fine. Sigil magic is amazing. Not magic or tea magic.
Oh no, hold on. Is this keep or sorry?
Well,
I keep tattoos.
you're keeping tattoos.
Yeah, not
Oh,
sigils. I'd keep tattoos.
oh, you're cutting sigils. Anon, we did this on an episode with Anon, and we got to the end of it. She was like, "Hang on a minute, I think I answered those wrong." She just answered what she would keep or cut, and we didn't. So you're
So I'm
keeping
answering what I'm keeping.
tattoos.
I'm keeping tattoos for sure.
Okay, not magic or tea magic.
Not magic.
You're keeping not magic.
For
Oh, that
sure.
surprises me because you've always got a cup of tea in your hand.
Yeah, I've always got knots, but you don't see them.
I think I know the answer to this. Fire or water?
Fire.
You're keeping fire.
Yeah, burned something
Oh,
every single day of my life.
well, there we go. Keeping cauldrons or wands.
Cauldrons.
And now this one is contentious. You're keeping fairies or unicorns?
Unicorns.
It wasn't
Has
that
to be
hard to
unicorn.
answer.
No,
I did this to Anonymous, which she was fuming. She's like, "No, they're going to hear me." She works with fairies as part of
yeah.
her practice and unicorns. But yes, she's like, "They're going to hear me."
Yeah, no, I'm unicorn. Well, I work with the she, so that's not.
Mhm.
I think they'd be annoyed if I called them fairies. So,
I'm
Yes.
I'm currently so my book pile of unread. I'm reading Morgan. I can never pronounce her surname. Morgan Damer's Fairy Courts, which
yeah,
is all about the Scottish fairy courts. It's very interesting. Again, it's not part of my practice, although I feel like the fairies are hunting me at the moment,
yeah.
or the she. But the
Well, I was just,
she are very specific to Scotland, though, right?
I think so, and I think in Ireland too. I think in
Right.
Ireland too. I was
Yeah.
I just downloaded a book. It's an old book from 1911 last week, and I was having a read through it earlier on. I've got this book somewhere, but I can't find it. And it's The Fairy Faith in Celtic Countries by W.Y. Evans Wentz. But you can get it online for free. Just a whole
Oh,
PDF book from 1911. But remember, it's 1911 and it's a man in Christian UK that's
Enough
writing
said.
it. So you just have to take it
well,
with a bit of discernment. But excellent
Yeah.
book, gives you information about fairy faith and she culture and all of that across all of the Celtic nations. So it's a very good. But I literally had it open today because I was looking at it for research for something, and
I
it's
might
a free PDF that you can download. The whole book.
1911. Now that'll be an interesting read.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting read. Okay, so what's going on for you next? Where can we find you? I mean, you're everywhere at this point, but yeah, what is going on next for you?
So I'm writing a book, which is I can get to
Eh?
say that out loud because I'm more than I think I was just a little bit nervous about saying that I was writing a book until I'd written most of it. So I have a manuscript deadline due in June. So once I send that off to them, then I'll be able to tell you more about what I'm writing about. It's not going through an editing process or anything yet. So I'll let you know a bit more about that at the time. Um, I'm also working on an app at the moment for a community.
Oh,
So I have my witch's wheel calendar I
yes.
use.
Yes.
So I kind of started that off with no understanding of how to be technologically advanced at all. So I didn't really understand how to hold a community space. I've never been on Discord or any of those types of things. It was really annoying me that it wasn't what I'd set out for it to be. So just about a few months ago, um, I am working with a girl from our community who's a community space manager. And I met her weirdly when I was in Denver. I walked into a metaphysical store and she was there. We hadn't we hadn't decided. I hadn't told her I was in Denver. I didn't know that she lived near that place, and we just so happened to be in the same store at the same time. So she's helping me build this online community, and it's a really cool space. I'm so excited. I've been walking through it over the course of the last couple of weeks, and I'm really excited to have it out in the world. So there's going to be lots of free stuff for people to access for free. There's going to be a little community where it's guarded a little bit, so that's kind of behind the wall of like normal kind of social media stuff for people who might want to practice a bit more openly online but don't want to be public facing about it.
Mhm.
And then I'm trying to figure out how to do some more in-depth teaching on that because again there's lots of nuance and trying to get that all out in those little videos is really difficult. So it's really more I mean, I've been a solo practitioner this whole time and I've never really understood the depth of community in a witchcraft setting until I've been doing this from an online perspective and it's really enriched my practice. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with people. So both of those things happening at the same time, which is just ridiculous. My brain's about to melt inside itself that I'm writing a book and developing an app. So that's
Wow.
exciting.
So exciting. That is so exciting. And that's so quite unique as well, that app idea, because then you get I don't like to use the word control, but you are able to
But there's
have more
lots of things
control.
that we can't post about on social media because
Yeah.
or places like Patreon or anything like that, even that you
Yeah.
can't post these things or they'll get taken down or reported or something.
Well, thank you. I can't believe how amazing it is to have you on the podcast. Yeah, I've tried to keep it quiet, but also I haven't been able to with my like Patreon community. So some people go, "Oh, have you got that Scottish witch coming on?" I'm like, "You're not supposed to know."
Well,
I'm so
can I also
excited.
just before I know we might be finishing up soon, but can I just say like a massive thank you to you, Gail, from that very first interaction that I had way back then, because um I had like you and another three women maybe on that live that night, and some weirdo that came in and said some weird things. Um and you guys were all really kind and welcoming and made me feel like what I was doing was worth doing. And that was like a little foundation brick in the whole of me continuing to do what it is that I'm doing. And just thank you, because you were so
Yeah,
kind to me
you are
that
so welcome. That your 1.3 million followers is it down to me,
yeah.
basically. I'll take. We've got it recorded. There's evidence, and
When
I
I
will
write
be sharing
when
this as a social media post.
I'll get you a copy of my book and I'll say to Gail, thank you. I couldn't have done it without you.
Exactly. I can't wait. I'll be running around the Witch and Pagan Festival next year going, look how famous I am now.
No, and I don't mean that in the slightest bit tongue in cheek. There's little things that happen to you along your
Yeah, there
journey, and you
is.
can either be poked and prodded in the right direction or poked and prodded out of it. And you were a poker and prodder in the right direction, and I'm just really grateful to you, because there's people online who are not kind, and
Mm.
I just haven't I've not experienced that, and you were one of the first people that I experienced online, so I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
You
And it was
know.
really
I
lovely
am.
to meet you, Anon.
Thank you for listening to Between Three Witches, Witchcraft in Plain Sight. If this episode resonated, you're welcome to sit with it, share it, or let it unfold in your own time. You can find me, Vicky, and Anon on all the social media platforms. And until next time, may your practice meet you exactly where you are.